I'm news anchor Chris Gutierrez with an Envoy News special report. Dr. Phil is sitting down with border czar Tom Homan less than 24 hours after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. By now, you've probably seen the video. It's all over the internet, several different angles of that shooting, caught on camera by several different bystanders. Let's get to Dr. Phil now.
Thank you, Chris. You're quite right. I am here with border czar Tom Homan. We have an interview planned, but we are going to talk about what has happened in Minneapolis. Mr. Homan, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me. We've talked many times before, and certainly there's been a tragic circumstance occur in Minnesota. I'm sorry that this has taken place, but this is no surprise to you.
No, I've been warning about this since before March. Because of all the hateful rhetoric, I said, you know, if the hateful rhetoric doesn't decrease, we're going to see bloodshed. Of course, I was called a fearmonger and threatening, but unfortunately I was right. We had an instance right here outside of Dallas where, you know, we had detainees shot by someone trying to shoot ICE officers. We had a facility attacked, and an officer was shot there. And I said just last week, with the rhetoric continuing and increasing, that I don't think it's over yet. Then we had this incident in Minneapolis yesterday. It's tragic. It's another example of tragedy that follows the hateful rhetoric against ICE, calling them Nazis and racists and Gestapo, and it just empowers those crazy people on the left that it justifies actions they want to take about ICE and the interference and the trying to stop ICE from doing what we're doing and attacking ICE officers. It's just increasing. Attacks are up 1,300%, but threats are up, 8,000%. So
against ICE agents.
Yes.
Well, what happened there? Renee Gold, 37, been reported to be a poet, a mother of three, was in her vehicle where an ICE operation was going on. Was there a raid underway at the time? Do we know what was happening when this incident occurred?
Oh, operations were going on,
right?
And this lady was doing everything she could to impede their movements and interfere with their operations, their law enforcement operations.
So she wasn't just caught up in driving through, she was there to impede, is that your understanding?
Yes.
Had she been involved with ICE agents earlier in the day or in prior days?
That day.
That day, she had been at a prior location?
Yeah. And this is information I've learned. When this happened, I was on an airplane going to Dallas. So as soon as I landed, I had an interview with another network. And so last night, me and my chief of staff spent the night gathering the facts from the White House, DHS, and watching numerous videos, so I can educate myself on the matter, looking at reports. So I come to learn a lot of things here in the last 24 hours.
Right. You put up a post. Your first post that you put up was this one. Can you share that with people?
I put that post out yesterday, late afternoon. I said, the incident in Minneapolis today is yet a tragic example of the results of the hateful rhetoric and violent attacks against the men and women of ICE and BP, Border Patrol. These brave men and women are forced to conduct law enforcement operations in heightened threat environments every day. Like all Americans, our officers have a right to self-defense.
Right. Do you believe this was a self-defense situation?
Yes, absolutely.
And why do you say that?
Look, I looked at numerous videos, and look, I'm a trained law enforcement officer. I carried a badge and gun start in 1984. I was a Border Patrol agent. I was an ICE agent for decades. I know their training. I know what the law requires. I truly believe that this officer had a split-second decision. He obviously thought his life was in danger, which authorized him to use lethal force. If you look at the totality of the circumstances, he's in an unfriendly environment where law enforcement isn't responding to ICE recalls for assistance. This officer was already attacked by a vehicle a few weeks earlier. He had no retreat. You're talking about a 6,000-pound SUV, and he's on foot. Vehicle coming at you, he felt his life was in danger, life of other officers in danger, and he used his authority to protect himself and others. As sad, as tragic as it is, the officer made a split-second decision, which I think he was justified in doing.
And you say as tragic as it is, people respond to this like, hey, you have the authority, you use it, and you move on. I fear people characterize that as you don't care what happened to this woman or anything of the sort. I know you better than that.
That's absolutely false.
You care a lot about what happened.
And I've said it many times. I said it yesterday after my first interview, that every night I go to bed, I pray for the safety and security of the men and women of law enforcement and the men and women that we are arresting. I don't want anybody to die. And I was asked yesterday to comment on the video, of course, a cherry-picked video. Again, not having any other information, just got off an airplane. And I simply don't want to get ahead of the FBI's investigation. I saw, and this is my belief, the officer acted correctly, but what like I said, and will continue to say, let the investigation play out. For members of Congress to come out and say this is murder, and I've seen numerous members of Congress saying ICE murdered a U.S. citizen. Are you kidding me? We just talked about this rhetoric causing this hate, which causes the attacks, and they doubled down and calling this murder. Let the investigation play out. Take a breath. The FBI will be investigating, local law enforcement investigating. There are a lot of videos. There are a lot of witnesses. There's probably body cam video. Let the investigation play out. Let's not get ahead of the FBI, and we'll get to the bottom of everything that happened.
Well, I saw a brief clip of an interview you did with Tony DeCopel, and you took positions in there where you said let this play out, and you put up a second post. In that post, you said, this interview was taped earlier today before I had the opportunity to see all the footage and learn the details of the incident. I do not comment before I have the facts. As I repeatedly have said, the brave men and women of ICE are heroes. Like all Americans, our officers have a right to self-defense, full stop. This you put up after you had the opportunity to gather a lot more information, look at a lot more angles of video, and gather more data about what took place. And after that, this appears to you to be a self-defense situation.
Yes.
Authorized force.
That's my opinion.
That's your opinion.
And based on 4 years law enforcement, yes. I think the officer, in his mind, obviously feared for his life and made a decision to use lethal force, which he's authorized to do. Again, you look at the totality of circumstances, an unfriendly environment, someone who's impeding your efforts at the time, and again, 6,000-pound vehicle coming at you. He made a split-second decision. I think any reasonable person in his position would make the same decision. But you got a lot of people out there saying he made a wrong decision. You don't know all the circumstances. That's what I tried to explain yesterday in one interview. We don't know everything. I certainly don't know everything. And, and until I gather more facts, just getting off an airplane, I need to gather more facts to develop an opinion. So I'm real careful. Like I say, until we get all the facts, I'm just going out there and make a decision that's going to, sway opinion either way. My concern right now is, and I talked to the officer involved, and he's, if everybody thinks he's sitting around feeling comfortable, he's not.
You talked to him just minutes ago, just as we were sitting down here. You stepped in another room and spoke with the officer. What did he say? How is he doing?
He's concerned. I've seen today his face all over social media. He's been doxxed. People are threatening to kill him. So he's not good. He fears for him and his family. And again, let the investigation play out. Before you, say you want to execute this man, let the investigation play out. Like I said, there's got to be, a 100 videos out there. There's going to be witness testimony, body cam footage. So, you know, let the let's decrease the temperature here. Let the investigation play out. But this officer is not in a good spot emotionally for his family.
Is he upset about what took place?
Of course he is. I mean, any law enforcement officer who uses any sort, look, I've been around a long time, even if it's less lethal force. If you have to put hands on somebody and take them down, it affects you. And I've never used lethal force, personally. I can only imagine. I've based on my 40 plus years, I've never met an officer who had to use lethal force that felt good about it. It's a terrible, terrible thing to go through.
Did you know every year millions of people on Medicare are shocked to learn their plan doesn't cover their doctors or the cost of their prescriptions has gone up? Signing up for Medicare coverage is overwhelming. There are thousands of plan options to choose from, and finding helpful, trustworthy advice, well, it's a challenge. Most agents are only going to recommend plans they get paid to sell. Well, I've found a Medicare resource that I'm proud to recommend, Chapter. They're the only advisors that compare every Medicare plan nationwide to find out what's best for your needs and preferences. They've saved seniors an average of $1,100 a year. Now, that's a lot of money. The best part? Their service is free. And they can review your options in under 20 minutes. Don't wait. If you're on Medicare or will be soon, reach out to Chapter. Click the link to learn about your Medicare options and get help finding ways to save money.
There have been reactions to this. Amnesty International condemned shooting, and this is a statement. Amnesty International has condemned the shooting. The Trump administration has taken the life of yet another person through the unnecessary use of lethal force, driven by its cruel, anti-immigrant agenda, and again blatantly lied about the circumstances, the group said. Jumping ahead in the statement a little bit, I'll put the whole thing up. I'm not trying to edit, I'll put the whole thing up. This killing, as well as all ICE-related custodial deaths, must be thoroughly investigated and those responsible for abuses held accountable. More broadly, the attack on our communities by the Trump administration must stop now. What do you say to Amnesty International's statement?
It's not a factual statement, it's just another statement. It's going to cause more hateful rhetoric. Again, wait for the investigation to play out. And to say ICE is attacking the community, look, I said from day one, look at what ICE is doing. Last time I looked at the numbers, right around 70% of everybody ICE arresting is a criminal. Either convicted criminal or pending criminal charges. I don't have the specifics of the incident yesterday. You know what operation they were conducting yesterday. I mean, they're arresting over 2,000 people a day, so I'm not aware of every incident. But let the investigation play out before you're the judge, jury, execution on anybody. And the bottom line is, I think ICE is out there doing a dangerous job. I'll say it again. Attacks on ICE officers are up over 1,300%. They've been shot at. They've had Molotov cocktails. They've had car rammings consistently. And, that is a dangerous weapon. You're talking about, multi-thousand-pound or, several-ton vehicle being weaponized. So these officers are under threat. That's why they wear a Kevlar vest. That's why they wear a gun. This is why they're wearing masks, to try to protect themselves and their families. The data shows it. The data shows not only they're arresting the right people, the data shows they're under severe threat. And when you're in a sanctuary city where law enforcement is not allowed to respond for calls for assistance, it makes it that much more dangerous. Our officers are being outnumbered. You're going to look at numerous videos where there's 6 or 7 ICE officers surrounded by 100 people that want to hurt them. And you and I talked about it earlier. We're at a point now where in many of these places, where is the respect for the badge? I became a police officer because my dad was a cop, my grandfather was a cop. Law enforcement was respected. There are places right now where no one respects that badge at all. And as we discussed, if you got a problem with the actions of law, if you think he's being unprofessional, like this incident, I see a lot of social media as well. They gave her verbal commands. She didn't follow the verbal commands. If you see ICE or Border Patrol or any law enforcement, you think they're acting unprofessional in their interactions with the public, there's a way to address that through the courts, through the department. But you can't be the Gestapo and take actions in your own hands. The respect for the badge has been lost in a lot of places. And if that continues, then you're looking at anarchy, right? You're looking at no accountability. Is every law enforcement officer in this country a good guy? Probably not. There are bad doctors, there are bad dentists, but there will be consequences. As I said yesterday in my first interview, if someone acts against policy or commits a crime, they will be held accountable. When I was the ICE director, one of the unfortunate things I had to do was fire people. And so they act outside of policy, they'll be disciplined. Some can lose their jobs. There's a way to deal with your perception of somebody not doing something right.
House Democrats on the Homeland Security Committee have spoken out against this ICE-involved shooting. Quote, what American citizens should understand, Kristi Noem's secret police can kill you, then lie and call you a terrorist, the group posted on X. That's what they're doing now.
This is a member of Congress, members, who used the term secret police, which means what? The Nazis, right? ICE is enforcing the laws they wrote. So if ICE is a secret police for enforcing the laws they wrote, what's that make them? They wrote the law. ICE isn't making this stuff up. They're enforcing laws enacted by Congress. They're appropriated funding to enforce those laws. Again, at what point do we learn the lesson hateful rhetoric is going to end in bloodshed at some point or another? Not every Democrat or everyone on the left are violent and are going to step over that line from peaceful protest to criminal activity. But that small percentage that are willing to do that, you're empowering them with that very statement. They have cover to do what they do because of statements like that.
Graham Plantner, a candidate for Senate in Maine, posted this. He said, when you send armed, untrained amateurs into American communities with vague orders and no accountability, this is inevitable. ICE must be dismantled. And Ilhan Omar in Minnesota said, it was not domestic terrorism. It was a state-sanctioned violence. A family will forever live with the pain caused by the admin's reckless and deadly actions. Abolishing ICE is not enough. They must be held accountable. So the implication here is there's been a lot of hiring of ICE agents, and so maybe they're amateurs and not properly trained, and that could have contributed to this. And Ilhan Omar is saying this was state-sanctioned violence and ICE should be abolished and held accountable.
Educate yourself. Educate yourself. Look at the data. Hundreds of thousands of public safety threats have been removed from your communities, making those communities safer. Second of all, let's remember, the men and women of ICE, and you and I have talked about this many times, they're mothers and fathers too. They don't hang their heart on a hook when they go to work every day. They're out there doing a dangerous job to protect these communities. Educate yourselves on what ICE is doing.
Are you worrying about those upcoming credit card bills after the holidays? If you're a homeowner, there's no better time than now to call American Financing and wipe out that debt, eliminate the stress, and set yourself up for a strong 2026. The Fed dropped rates for the fourth time in December. American Financing can help you access that equity in your home at an interest rate in the low fives. You heard that right, in the low fives. That is a much lower rate than the average 20% or more credit card rate. American Financing is saving their customers an average of $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 raise to start the new year. There are no upfront fees and no obligation to see how much you can save. They are closing some in as fast as 10 days and even delaying 2 mortgage payments. American Financing, America's home for home loans. Call today, 888-841-1319. That's 888-841-1319 or americanfinancing.net/Phil. americanfinancing.net/Phil.
If it turns out that this agent acted inappropriately, will you hold this agent to account?
Well, that'd be the secretary's job, but 'cause he's not in my chain of command. But however, once the FBI does an investigation, if there's wrongdoing, then they'll be handled appropriately. Absolutely.
And you want full transparency here. There's no cover up. There's no sweeping this under the rug. You want full transparency here.
Absolutely. I want the FBI to look at every videotape, talk to every witness. If there's body cam video available, look at it. I want them to look at the totality of the circumstances, what was happening in that area at the time. Was there violence in that area? Look at what this officer has been through. Look at what was the intentions of the young lady. Was there previous activity from her? They got to look at social media posts. Look at the totality of circumstances. That's why I suggest it's much bigger than a cherry-picked video. Let the FBI do their investigations, then we go from there. Either, if they come to the decision, bad shoot, then it'll be handled. But I want everybody just to step back and stop pouring gas on a fire that I truly believe is going to cause more bloodshed. I've said it 1,000 times. I haven't been wrong yet, unfortunately. But even after this tragedy, the rhetoric just tripled.
Yeah, when you...
They're moving from Nazi to murderers now.
Yeah, when you hear this stuff, when they're being called murderers, when they're talking about going beyond the scope of any reasonable employment, and they're into a situation like this where there is no backup from state or local law enforcement.
If they want to be helpful, I'm going to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
If they want to be helpful, these members of Congress who think ICE is a secret police, you want to be helpful? Then let us in the damn jail. I've said this from day one. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. More agents in the jail means less agents in the community. Why are these operations even occurring? They're occurring because they don't get access. Illegal alien in this country who's been arrested for a crime, we can't have access to them in the safety and security of a jail where the alien's safe, the officer's safe, and the community's safer. Taking a public safety threat and putting them back in community is just dumb, and it puts the community at greater risk. You want to prevent this? Let us in the damn jail.
Yeah.
You chose to lock a public safety threat, obviously a public safety threat, you wouldn't lock them up. Give us access there. So you want to place blame? You want to place blame? The reason ICE is in the community because they can't get the guy in the safety and security of a jail. I've been fighting sanctuary cities forever. And sanctuary cities want to say, well, these politicians, we're a welcoming community. We're afraid that victims and witnesses of crime, if they're in the country illegally, will fear coming or working with police to report these crimes out of fear we're working with ICE. That's just plain bullshit. Because victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy back out there either. ICE aren't going to look for the victim witness. They want to talk to the guy that you locked in a jail cell. So you want to place some blame? I'll place some blame. Let us in the damn jail. Sanctuaries are sanctuaries for criminals, and more agents in the jail means less agents in the street.
And knowing that that's the attitude that they're conducting their job in, you believe that goes to the state of mind of that agent in that moment?
They know They're out there looking for dangerous people. They're out there looking for criminal, public safety threats, and national security threats. The data proves majority are exactly those people. They got a danger. I did that job. See, you got a lot of politicians speaking from their political pulpit. I was a police officer. I was a border patrol. I wore that uniform. I was an ICE agent. I know what these men and women are going through. And not only that, it's a different world today. The world's a much more dangerous place now. We know under the last administration, criminals, gang members have come across that border by the millions. We got 2.1 million known gotaways. 2.1 million people that paid more to get away. Why? Why didn't they pay less to get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, a free hotel room, 3 meals a day, free medical care, and get work authorization? Why did 2.1 million people say, no, I'm gonna pay more, not to get vetted, not to get fingerprinted? This world's a dangerous place. We went from 14 people on the terrorist watch list under Trump 45, total, 4 years, 14 people, to over 400. So like I said to my interview yesterday, this is a different world today. It's a much more dangerous world. And with sanctuary cities exploding across the country, our cities are more dangerous now.
Yeah.
President Trump made a promise to the American people to make this country safe again. He made a promise to enforce immigration law. He made a promise to prioritize the worst first, which we're doing. The data shows that. So this is a different world. The ICE agent's job, I think, is more dangerous than when I was out there in the street.
The mayor of Minneapolis made a statement that was pretty clear.
To ICE, get the f out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Not happening. We're doubling down.
You're
now
not
we
leaving.
know what a dangerous place that is because of the lack of law enforcement, immediate assistance in some occasions. I'm not saying everyone. Now we know the rhetoric is going on right now, especially after this incident where people are calling for the death of ICE agents. More agents will be sent there. We are not going to end this mission. We're keeping President Trump's promise to the American people. We're going to find the worst of the worst that are in the country illegally, and we're going to remove them. And as far as the ones that we find that may not be a public safety threat, I'll say what I said yesterday. Oh, they're just illegal aliens. Let's remember, every one of these illegal aliens cheated the system. They put themselves in front of the line, ahead of millions. What do you say to the millions of people who are standing there in line, taking their tests, paying their fees, doing their background investigation to be the part of the greatest nation on earth? They're sitting in the back seat while these people cheated. Call them innocent illegal aliens all you want, they cheated the system. And because ICE is out there doing this, because ICE is saying, we'll prioritize the worst first, but if you're in the country illegally and we find you, we're going to arrest you, we'll give you a due process. We'll put you in front of a judge and you can plead your case whether you should be here or not. But we'll give you that chance. They want a due process, we'll give them a due process. But the reason we have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now, which is decreased overdose deaths of fentanyl, decreased sex trafficking of women and children, decrease in known and non-suspected terrorists coming across the border, decrease the activity of gangs. The reason we have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now, because President Trump's leadership and the work of the men and women of the Border Patrol, and because of what ICE is doing right now. We send a message to the whole world there are consequences. So the most vulnerable people in the world isn't giving the cartels their life savings to swim across the river and die. Under President Biden, we had over 4,000 aliens die making that journey, historic record. Over 250,000 Americans died from drug overdoses, historic record. Their policies weren't humane. They were killing Americans at record numbers, killing aliens at record numbers. President Trump's policies were saving lives. Illegal immigration down 96% less people are coming. How many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting in? So, this is the right thing to do. But I'm going to say it again. People say, well, you're arresting people that aren't the worst of the worst. Are they in the country legally? If they are, and we find them, they're going to be arrested, and we'll give them their day in court to plead their case. That's the message we're sending. And because of that, we have a safer country.
And you're not leaving Minnesota?
We're not leaving Minnesota. And I said the other night on one of the networks that I said for months, this should be no surprise to anybody. I said for months, with these new resources, we're going to flood the zone in sanctuary cities. Why? Not because of blue, not because of Democrat, because we know that's where a problem is. We know public safety threats are being released back into the public every day, and they won't give us access to the jail. So we're going to send our resources where the biggest public safety threats are. And where is that? In cities that won't work with ICE and release public safety threat, illegal aliens back in the community to reoffend. Look at, anybody can Google recidivism rates. Look at the recidivism rates. Many of these people are going to commit another crime in the very near future. We want to stop that.
Well, we'll stay in touch about what's going on in Minnesota and keep everybody abreast of it. But as you say, this has to play out and find out what the facts are.
This has to play out, and I'm begging. Look, I'm begging. Tone down the rhetoric. In my career, I've buried Border Patrol agents, I've buried ICE agents, and the saddest thing I've ever had to do is hand a folded flag to a spouse or a child. I don't want to see anybody die. Anybody. The people we're looking for, even the worst of the worst. I don't want to see anybody die. So, for God's sake, let's tone the rhetoric down. And less blood. I don't want to see any more bloodshed. I didn't want to see bloodshed from day one. But with the rhetoric now, comparing ICE to murderers and the chief secret police, I'm afraid this is not over.
I'm afraid you're right. Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Phil. This, of course, is a still developing story, so stay with us right here on Envoy News for updates as we get them.
If you like what you hear, watch me every day on my new network, Envoy TV. Check out the links in the description for more ways to enjoy Envoy TV.